Welcome to Queer Coded Country, where Yeehaw meets Yass Queen.
A podcast about growing up in the South and realizing that it's pretty dang queer. I'm Tucker.
And I'm Hunter.
And Hunter, I just have to say, no one makes cunty athleisure like Miss Ivy Park.
I mean, thank you for noticing because we're not going to skip past the part where you almost forgot to comment on my outfit.
I know. And I feel like I'm contractually obligated to do that now. It
is actually in your contract that you must compliment and validate me.
Yes.
So thank you. This
You're
is
welcome.
Ivy Park. It's from the February Valentine's Day collection where everything was red and pink.
How perfect.
Perfect for tonight. And also, I said at one point on this podcast that I felt the most powerful when I had a microphone.
Yeah.
Shoulder pads.
I mean, it is the shoulder pads that are giving Samantha Jones, Bethany Frankel.
I could literally take over
bitch.
The world right now.
Yeah.
And I probably should because currently it's a dumpster fire.
Correct.
And I think these shoulder pads could really make a statement, but
I think so.
I think that's a different podcast.
It sure is.
Yeah. So how's your mom and him?
Okay, well, I got back in tonight's theme. I got back on Hinge recently. Literally. And so tonight we're talking about Valentine's Day. Happy Valentine's Day. And literally the subconscious is that girl, because I completely forgot that we were going to be doing this. And I recently got back on Hinge and have been going on dates.
Not because we are talking about Valentine's Day.
Maybe I should get back on Hinge and dust it off and see what it's like, because I took a big break.
Yeah. Can I just say, so since you moved here, you've been on more dates. I will have lived in New York 8 years in February. You've been on more dates since June than I've been on in 8 fucking years. You are a girl about town. I don't know if it's the mullet, the mustache, the Southern accent,
all of the above,
the seasonal depression.
Maybe.
Is it? Girl, you are out in the streets, literally.
Well, I really just recently was I don't know, I stopped when I moved. I was kind of using Hinge, but I realized that really shouldn't be my priority. So then recently I was you know what, new year, new me. And
new dates.
I was let's dust it off again. And it's a great way to meet people and potentially make friends. I've actually made a couple of good friends since moving to the city after doing Hinge dates or other kinds of dates. So
I feel like you actually this summer inspired me. Do you remember us talking about this? I was you were just out there I should do this. I downloaded Hinge for approximately 2 minutes.
Yeah.
And I was I cannot have small talk.
I
cannot do this because I work in sales. So a lot of my day is small talk and pretending to care. I'm oh no, I hope my clients are not listening. But I'm sure the ones that are listening are the ones I love. No, but literally, I was I know. This feels like a Slack message.
Yes, 100%.
I was I cannot respond to any more Slacks. Hey, what's up? How you doing? How do you get through that?
That's the thing. It's really tough to weed through the early small talk of how's your week going? Sorry, just saw this. Been a busy week at work.
Yeah.
Oh, did you have Monday off? It is a lot of that. But sometimes the people that really cut through in a big way. So someone cut through recently and
speak on them.
We were just messaging about something and I really don't remember how it came up. Oh, he asked me, he was oh, are you a country boy? And one, I was you're turning me on. And then second,
say less.
and then he was saying he was from the South and that he said he was from a big city. I was oh, you're a city boy. And he goes, yeah, but I still wish I was getting drunk with you on a porch listening to Sara Evans and Vince Gill.
No!
I'm not fucking kidding you. He said this to me. And I was well, did
you propose?
No, we haven't talked since.
Oh my God. You can't whoa. I have words for this man. I don't want to assume their pronouns, but you cannot bring up Sara Evans.
Yes.
And hit us with our mom. My mom loved Vince Gill.
Yes.
You can't go for that and then not follow through.
I know. So.
Oh my God. I'm disappointed in this person.
I know, me too, a little bit, but it was just a fun exchange. And immediately I was well, we had to talk about Born to Fly. And he goes, play Suds in the Bucket at my funeral. So I'm we have to find this man. TikTok, do your thing.
Yeah.
Find this man.
Is TikTok live right now? Are we allowed to be on it?
We're recording this in the past, but you're listening to it the week of Valentine's Day.
So will we be able to find this man on TikTok?
Ooh.
I feel like the internet sleuths could find him, and the internet sleuths are just me getting your phone after this and looking up his name. And then by the end of it, I'll have his social security number, where he was from. I'm ready to show up in Sara Evans drag and sing Suds in the Bucket after I kill him for bringing up Vince Gill and Sara Evans to you and not taking you on a proper date.
Thank you very much. But you know what it'd probably actually come back as? It'd probably come back as like, oh, this serial dater that everyone talks about, like going on dates with, and he's like just known for like blasting people with sweet nothings and then ghosting them. But you know what? Hinge is its own beast, and I don't blame anybody for not responding, because your girl has definitely not responded on Hinge before.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. Literally dating sucks and is loaded, but sometimes it's so fun.
Yeah.
And I'm excited because I feel like we know a lot. I mean, obviously recent, like in our past lives, we know a lot about each other and like dating and who we are, but I'm excited to kind of dig in on like
me too.
A little trauma, maybe even.
There's a lot of that.
Bad romance, if you will. Like to give our queen, Lady Gaga.
Like, you know, it's speaking to my heart.
Yeah, there's just a lot of bad romance. There's a lot of fucked up things about trying to date in the closet, growing up queer, gender norms, gender roles, like all of this shit. And I'm really excited. I don't know. I'm a lover.
Oh, me too.
Bitch, I'm a lover. Lover.
I know.
And so like I'm ready. Like I know that I'm going to just thrive talking about love because I love love.
Well, before we get into anything else, we do have a message coming in loud and clear.
Yes. Talk about love. Yeah. Smash the love button.
Please.
Smash the like button.
Yes. We are on Spotify. We are on Apple Podcasts. We are on iHeart. Please rate, review, follow us on Instagram. Yes. We would absolutely love it. It means a lot.
On TikTok that we haven't posted anything on yet because we do have other jobs and we are busy and we didn't know if it was going to be banned or not.
Yep.
Once we have a more stable future with TikTok, you can find us there. And I have to say, hearing from people that I grew up with, like we've talked about this before, but it has warmed my heart. Shout out to Micah who reached out this week.
Yes.
Like I just love it. And if you're loving this podcast and you love us and you think we're hot and you think that
especially
if you think we're hot, please follow us. Tell your hot friends to follow us. This is one instance where I will allow people to say, oh my God, I have a gay friend. Like tell your gay friends that you have a gay friend if it's sending them this podcast.
There we go.
Okay. So
all right,
we're going to kick us off. We're going to talk about like what's like the best and worst date that you've been on.
Okay. So the best date that I ever went on, which like we need to talk about what constitutes a first date,
right?
Or like a good date.
I literally couldn't think of one.
Yeah.
So we should define that.
I think for me, I'll use mine as an example for me. What I think
because yours is so good. I'll use it as the bar.
I just want to set the standard real quick.
I'll set the standard for a good date.
Fortunately, for me, it is about connection and being able to have good banter and like conversation. Even sometimes there might be a little lull. That's fine. There's generally some nerves. But one of the best dates I went on was just literally like going out and getting drinks with someone and having a good connection and chatting. And I'll never forget, we were just talking about something stupid and he grabbed my hand, a little physical touch, and it felt like I got struck by lightning. It was just such a good feeling. Yeah.
Oh, you are a lover. You're like, my best date was a strong connection and a brush of the hand.
Oh, honey, I'm about to be...
I'm not judging you because literally same.
I'm about to be in the classifieds with that. I'm about to be somebody's prison pen pal.
Oh my God. Wait a fucking minute. Have you seen the Utah? Is it Utah or some state where you can get a prison pen pal? Yes. And these men are hot.
No, literally someone I know posted a classifieds ad and it's all like prison inmate numbers and like addresses that you can start sending mail to. So that's what I'm about to resort to if that's any indication of where I'm at.
I'm going to do that as a hobby.
To be clear, that is not what happened on this good day.
He went to prison and now he's your pen pal. Wait, but you do know that I was like falling in love with a guy that went to rehab and I sent him vapes and cigarettes.
Exactly. That's a good date.
I mean, honestly, that's a lover. Like I care. I wanted him to have he deserved nicotine.
So maybe it's not about the date, but more about the like little things that you do throughout.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
That build up.
Yeah.
Do you have a bad date?
Well, actually, the date that couldn't escape my mind when we were thinking about this could be the good and the bad. So this is throwing it back literally like probably high school or right after high school. We would go to the lake in Mountain Home, Arkansas, Lake Norfolk. And at the time, apparently, according to my mom, Mountain Home is like really booming now. I'll believe it when I see it. But the only restaurant really was a Chili's.
Yes, I mean...
And you know where this is going because I love Chili's.
This is why it's a good date.
Yeah. So I'm blackout from being on the lake all day with like Taylor and our group of friends from high school. And they came over to take my order. And I said, I'll have the Cajun chicken pasta and a side of that guy over there. And I pointed at one of the other servers who happened to be gay, obviously. I knew. He was hot. And so the server, little title holder, scooted on over like with her notepad and my number on it and gave this guy my number.
To be so bold.
Oh, honey, to be so blackout.
Yeah.
That's what it's called. So I ordered this guy at the Chili's with my Cajun chicken pasta, which I need to be clear that now I'm a triple dipper girly.
Yeah.
These were different times.
But honestly, Cajun chicken pasta is really good.
Don't get me hard on the Valentine's Day
splitting
episode.
A chicken Cajun pasta.
I would never have split in those days. So anyway, I get his info, I get his number, whatever. We're at the lake every weekend. So he's like, I want to take you on a date. Yeah. And at this time, I probably really hadn't been on proper dates in public. And I was like, okay, where should we go? And he took me to Chili's and used his discount. And I appreciate that.
He was thinking.
Well, you know, maybe that's my connection to Chili's. But also, I tried so hard during that date. My only mission, I knew when he showed up in the jeans that he showed up in that it was never going to work. I saw him get out of the car and I was like, I just...
But honestly, a sign of the times. Let's give this man a little slack.
Well, now I'm like, you were a cunt. Like, you were a cunt. But... I just knew. Yeah. You know, you just know. Yeah. Anyway, I really, the whole date, I was trying to get the homemade salsa recipe.
Yes.
Because they make it homemade. And that's why it's so good.
Did he?
He must have been like a shareholder or something.
Damn, okay.
Because he wasn't giving me the recipe.
My gosh.
I was pissed. But yeah, I think that's the best and the worst.
My worst date, it's not even bad, but it is just so comically funny to me. So I was seeing this guy from like one of the apps and we had been on 1 or 2 dates before and he was really sweet, really nice. The conversation was good. And then we go to this Mexican restaurant in Dallas and he shows up with a bag on his shoulder and they like seat us and he's like has his bag and he opens it up and it's he pulls it out and he goes, sorry, I'm keto. So he brought his own pork rinds to the Mexican restaurant.
Okay, Teresa Giudice, literally.
No, serious. This is not a drill. He brought out the pork rinds and was like, I'm going to use these instead of the tortilla chips. And instead of him like putting them in a bowl or something, he had them off to his side and the pork rinds open and would get pork rinds and then like dip them and like
really fast because he didn't want them to know that...
Yeah.
Oh no.
Yes. And good for this man on being on his keto journey, but
that's a different kind of therapy that he needs.
And it just was cracking me up. This man was sneaking pork rinds at the Mexican restaurant for his queso.
Isn't it so funny how there are so many things that you immediately know? Like, I wore Taco Bell slides to a date once, and like they weren't met with joy.
Oh, Taco Bell.
And I was like, slides. Oh, you've literally never had...
You'll never get me.
If you're not feeding me fucking chicken quesadillas with hot sauce all over my body at midnight, then this is never gonna work.
Oh my God.
So, okay, so describing a good date, I was giving you shit earlier, but it really is about the chemistry. Yeah. I literally, if I could sit...
That's what makes it good.
Yeah. I don't need to be... Well, I do like nice things. Yeah. So, like, obviously, if someone were to, like, take me to the Mark Hotel for caviar, like, 10 martinis in. Yeah. Definitely sleeping with anyone that takes me to the Mark Hotel for caviar. But also, you can take me to Taco Bell and, like, give me a Bud Light, and I'll also sleep with you.
Yeah.
So that is my idea.
Now you know the ticket.
Now you know the ticket to getting this red jumpsuit, a little nipple out, but
a little loose.
But with that, okay, so like what are your Valentine's vibes? Because I feel like holidays like Valentine's can be very polarizing.
They are.
I feel like we're conditioned to be sad on Valentine's Day.
100%.
Because
you're conditioned to be one or the other. You're conditioned to either be like, this is a must-have holiday. This is like one of the only ways that I can show somebody love, or like so fucking cynical that like it's a holiday for capitalism, which is not wrong.
Right.
But also just like cynical is the best word I can put you.
Well, and also I'm just thinking about how many straight men in this very moment have the tightest butthole because they have no idea what they're going to do for Valentine's Day. And they have this expectation that they must like deliver because it's Valentine's Day. Listen, I'm a lover.
Yeah.
Let's take a shot every time I say I'm a lover because I am. I love big. I love hard. I love fast.
Yeah.
All of the things. But I don't know. I kind of feel like holidays that other people celebrate, I don't want to celebrate. It's like very New Year's. I'm like, everyone else does it. So like, I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
But I do feel like I was kind of, I don't know. I kind of was more of the cynical type.
Yep.
I would always like plan something, like maybe a grinder hookup, sometimes an escort.
Yeah.
I just want to say that like I truly believe that like sex work should be covered by insurance.
Yes.
I think that if people were able to be free in exploring things and feeling things, like there are people that have never gotten to experience a climax or a connection or a touch or a like even just like an orgasm that they want or that, you know, so like you have these thoughts and you just sit with them and you just like literally just can't express it. And so a lot of times I would use Valentine's Day as like kink exploration. Yeah.
I think too, people are like being there's like the super cynical camp, which I ultimately did live in for a little bit. I pitched a tent at the cynical camp during Valentine's Day because I don't know, but I realize now that it was just because I was really jealous.
Yeah.
And
I think let's be clear. That's a fair emotion to feel, especially as two queer kids that grew up in the South and didn't get to feel that love. You know what I mean? Like, again, we grew up in communities, in towns, in environments that glorified heteronormative relationships, that glorified Valentine's Day. We only saw traditional relationships. We only saw, all of these things. So like, it's like the Disney princess vibe. It's like you're literally this is shoved down your throat forever. And it is normal. I see you in that jealousy because until you kind of get out of it and like, and are able to have a different view on it, it does feel like you're missing out on something or you don't get to have something.
But now I am far more accepting of it. I'm more of the middle ground of like, it means something if you want it to mean something. And if it is a reminder and a day that you need to like remind yourself of the love in the relationship you have, absolutely go for it. Celebrate, get the reservation, book it in advance or have a night at home. Or book an escort, treat yourself to some self-love. And that's where I'm at right now is like, I don't trip over the day anymore because I absolutely used to and like be so cynical. But now I'm just more like, you know what? Everybody's doing their thing and I'll do whatever I want to tonight. And that's that. I'll wear pink if I want to.
Well, honey, I'll let you borrow this to go find that man that said that he likes Vince Gill.
I heard you liked Sara Evans.
I heard you liked Sara Evans. Well, also like what was like your parents have been together for a while too, right? Yes. Like that's like kind of the vibe you grew up around.
Yeah, it's like that's part of it too is like with Valentine's Day is seeing one type of relationship and seeing monogamy and like long love being like the ultimate goal. And I actually think Dan Savage talks about like a long-term relationship and a short-term relationship and how beautiful short-term relationships can be too.
Yeah.
And I think that is like the way we need to be thinking now. But we grew up definitely like the person that you are married to and when y'all die is the end of the relationship. When sometimes it doesn't have to be that way.
Yeah. Well, same with me. My parents have been together since they were 15 and like don't know life apart.
Yeah.
And that's beautiful for them. 100%. Right. She did try to run over him once in a car, which is iconic.
Well, they were in high school, right?
Yeah, they were in high school. She tried to run over him. It's like my favorite story.
Yeah.
But I also think that like I had a conversation with a friend about this recently. And I do think that something they said like really resonated, that like also the way that our parents were raised and kind of the culture that we were raised in, it was like your morality was tied to your ability to be in a stable relationship. And like you had to like conform to this, like, gotta find someone, gotta spend your life with someone, especially for fucking women who like were told nonstop that if you don't have a man, what are you gonna do? Or
is there life out there?
So much she hasn't done.
But seriously, that's...
Is there? No, literally that's it. And so it is this conditioning. And I think that that's one of the biggest, I mean, as someone who loves so deeply and did always want that also went through this arc of like, convincing myself that I didn't want it, or feeling I had a really long period of time where I felt like if I wanted to be in a relationship or I had a desire to be in a relationship, that I was weak. That I like could, you know, like I couldn't understand that like, yes, I can have happiness on my own, but also it's not a bad thing to want partnership and companion.
Absolutely.
Well, I was going to say, because you started singing and you know, we're song girlies.
That's right.
We love a song. We have a song for everything.
Exactly.
I don't have rich, good music taste, but I have a song.
Absolutely, you fucking do.
I have a song for everything.
Yes, me too.
Okay, so I want to know.
Okay.
What is your favorite love song?
Okay. What
love song describes you as a lover?
Okay.
And what love song describes you in bed?
Okay. So my favorite love song is Late to the Party by Casey Musgraves.
I knew that was going to be yours because we've talked about it so many times, and I also love that song, and I'm happy that you picked it because I didn't have to pick it as mine.
It is literally the perfect feeling and of like being in a relationship with someone and being like so comfortable with doing what you're doing that you're like, oh, I don't care if we're late. Like, as long as I'm arriving late to the party with you or they see me arriving with you, that's all I care about. Because I just think that is such a beautiful way to talk about love. That's not the standard, like, I commit to you and I like want to make love with you and like all this stuff. It's all about a simple moment in life and how those can be just as intimate.
Just being there with someone.
Yeah.
You said this and I have to say it now. I think that there's a perception about like what intimacy has to look like.
Yeah.
I think that people think that intimacy has to be
grand gestures
or whatever, but like it can be so many things. And sometimes I think for people like us, the lovers of the world, like the little things, like a comment like that mean way more than caviar at the Mark Hotel. Again, I want both, but like truly. And I do think that's such a beautiful,
it's so good.
Beautiful song. Okay. What describes you as a lover?
Mine is Got Me Started by Troye Sivan. That you just got me started.
Yeah, I see that for you.
Yeah. Because it's just kind of like fun, poppy. And it's like, it feels like the beginning of a crush. Like you got me started. And when I have a crush, that's kind of like the feeling I feel like kind of running through the streets and just like poppy, dancey.
How good does the beginning of a crush feel?
Oh my God.
I don't think there's anything better, especially when you can tell that the crush is reciprocated.
Oh yeah.
Before it goes to shit and you're ghosted and suddenly listening to Vince Gill alone.
Yeah.
Like a crush it's almost as good as a camel crush.
Yeah. Almost.
It is like that head rush though.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
100%.
Very
wow.
that.
I love that tie.
Oh my God. But yeah. Oh, there's nothing better than, even if it's just like a dance floor crush.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
Honey.
Oh, yeah, I love it.
You can fall in love on a dance.
Honey, I have, and I will continue to fall in love on the dance floor.
Let me just take a quick interim break about falling in love on a dance floor. Took this bitch to the Eagle recently. We didn't make it through coat check before he had this beautiful man locking eyes ready to go. And I was like, bitch, we haven't barely checked our coats. And anyway, I love that for you. And that was fun. Okay. What song in bed?
The song that describes me in bed is Reading Between the Lines by Robin.
Oh,
and because it's kind of fun. It's
I'm
like dancing
between.
Because I don't like anything in the bed to be too serious.
Oh, I also think that that's a misperception that you have to make love.
Yeah.
I can make love to a stranger, but also I kind of want you to like tell me I'm stupid or something.
Exactly.
Like, it doesn't have to be so intense.
I just like, it's very like, it's about sexual tension.
Yeah.
And I think that's what's the most fun part of bedtime is the tension part.
I have sexual dyslexia.
Okay. Tell me more.
So speaking of like tension and not being too serious, I love to talk dirty and be just an absolute filthy animal. But sometimes I get my words mixed up when I'm doing it.
Yes.
So I'll be like, yeah, put that ass inside my dick. I can't keep it straight. I'm just like mumbling bullshit. So thank God other people, or maybe they think I'm nuts, but either way.
It breaks the tension and makes it fun if someone's not taking it too seriously.
Exactly.
Okay. I want to know, what's your favorite love song?
Okay. So my favorite love song is Dangerously in Love. Originally on the Destiny's Child album, redone by Beyonce on Dangerously in Love.
Okay.
The way I belted this, I am in love with you. You set me free. I can't do this thing called life without you here with me.
Yeah.
I was like in middle school.
Yeah.
And
this is setting the stage perfectly.
I was singing a Nelson, honey. I was singing a Nelson, which is a League of Their Own reference if you're not tracking.
Honey, Marla Hooch.
I love that song. And I have been a Beyonce and Destiny's Child fan since November 28th, 1998, when they appeared on Smart Guy, the Destiny fulfilled when they went to prom. And Dangerously in Love has been my favorite song of hers, not just favorite love song, but favorite song of hers until Two Hands to Heaven. So I have to give a shout out to Two Hands to Heaven, because that is now my favorite love song.
You can still be surprised.
I know, she can still take me there.
Okay, what describes you as a lover?
Okay. I could not, when we talked about this, the only song that I could think of was I Can't Make You Love Me by Bonnie Raitt. Because I feel like that's how I feel so often. Like, I fall for people that are so unavailable.
Yeah.
And I have so much to give, and I've given so much to people.
Yeah.
There's people like flashing in my head, like from college, whatever. And like, I just feel like, one, what a beautiful song.
I mean,
power.
Bonnie fucking Raitt, ladies and gentlemen.
There is power in that song.
Yeah.
That song, I love a ballad. I call myself a ballad bitch.
Yeah.
I love a ballad.
You're 2 for 2.
And honestly, I love that song.
That song too, what I'm gonna like, you're talking about the like, I can't make you love me part of it, but what I also take away from it too is like there's tension in the one last night. So for one last night, we're gonna hold each other and just give me this one last night, and then I'll let you go.
Fuck.
And that feeling is also like holding on to something.
Oh, the times I've done that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Literally, this guy that I was dating, like, we had a great time. Introduced him to like David, Taylor. We went to a drag show. We came back here. We're kikiing. We're having a fun time. I thought he was about to tell me that he was in love with me. Like the way he set this conversation up, which it was too early for that. So I had a little panic about that. But then it was like, ultimately, like, he dumped me. And then like, he like lived in the Rockaway. So I was like, well, if you want to stay, that's really far.
Yeah. So
which should have been my first sign. Yeah. And then me as in bed.
Yeah.
I had many that popped into my head, but a song that gets me going is Lose My Breath, Destiny's Child.
Oh,
Can you keep up,
there we go.
Baby boy, make me lose my breath. And like when she's like, I'm like literally, that song, when I would, at one point when I was like trying to lose weight and I was running all the time, I would play that song and choreograph lap dances in my head. And the way that they strut and the drums, dun, dun. Oh my God. Like, I'm getting...
You can't help.
I can't help. So that is it. And then actually I have to give another honorable mention.
Yeah, please.
You said this earlier. It's very similar to like the like late to the party vibe, and also like doesn't matter the intimacy. Like it's just about being with the person.
Right.
Lainey, Dancing in the Kitchen. We could travel the whole world and we'd still end up spending all night dancing in the kitchen.
I mean,
that's a vibe.
Yes, that is a freaking vibe.
That is.
And that's what you remember too. Like you have those little memories and stuff.
Yeah. Let's just talk quickly about like the first love. Even if it was a brief dance floor love, like that's okay too.
I know. I'm trying to think. Like
You're like, I've never been in love.
No, yeah. Let me dive in real deep.
I've loved many, but never one.
I'm like, let me find one. No, one of my first like loves, I think, was a dance floor. Love, or just like met someone on the dance floor, and like we ended up dating like a couple of months after. And I don't think like. I remember at the time thinking like, oh shit, I love this person, but like could not communicate it. I think I ultimately did in the most distraught way on the side of the street. But
did you puke?
No, I did not.
Were you pulled over to puke?
No. But that would have been better than telling someone that you're in love with them outside of a Cafe Brazil at 4 a.m. on Cedar Springs.
Cafe Brazil? Not Cafe Brazil.
But yeah, I think I've definitely like fell in love with them, and then I fell hard. It was in my 20s when I was really looking for love,
raw,
and just looking back, like I'm also like, was that really love? But in my heart at the time, it definitely was. Yeah.
But that goes back to how we're conditioned to like believe that all loves have to last forever. And that you can't have a fleeting love or fall in love with someone on the dance floor, have these periods of time where you just let yourself be a little free and like feel that. Like, I love love.
I know. I do too.
I love.
What about you? Your first love?
Yeah. Well, okay. So my first love was Shay. Okay. You know Shay, right? Or you like know?
I met him once.
Yeah. So it was summer after junior year of college. Moved to DC. And I remember it was Pride weekend in DC, like the first weekend that I moved. And you know me, I was like ready to go out and be Taylor Douglas, my fake ID. I was like ready to tear the town up. And the group of people that I were with, we went to the parade and like did whatever. But then they didn't want to go out. And I was like, well, it's Pride. I've never been to a Pride. It was my first Pride. I was like feeling risky. So I get on Grindr, you know, as one does.
Sure.
And I remember talking to him, and it was the banter. It was very much the banter. He's like very dry humor.
That cuts
like
through the clutter.
Yeah. And he was like, well, I don't want to go out tonight, but you want to go get a burger tomorrow? And I was like, yeah. Food. Yeah. He's a chef and like a foodie, TikToker now too. And we went to that date and like had lunch at somewhere in Georgetown, and then like spent the rest of the summer together. And it was just so fun because I was out, he was in the closet at the time, but there was just like a silly, fun energy, both of us getting to do this for the first time, both being away from anything we'd ever known, both, you know, just like kind of letting ourselves go to a place that we had never been before. And obviously I was out and like ready to be married.
Oh, yeah,
like,
absolutely.
I was still in the Arkansas
Ring
conditioning.
by spring.
Yeah, that was very me, ring by spring.
Yeah,
he was not
same.
that. He wasn't even out. Ultimately, he broke my heart.
Yes.
I spent a whole semester listening to Gravity by Sarah Bareilles.
Oh my God, that song is so good.
But eventually I was like, okay, this was like young love. This person is amazing. We are still friends.
Yeah.
I hope he's listening.
Yeah.
Also, he's very famous on TikTok. So share our podcast.
Yes, please.
Share this clip.
If you really loved me, you would share the pod.
Bitch.
You would rate and review.
Yeah. But no, he's great. That was my first love. And first heartbreak. And also like at the time it felt like Gravity.
Yeah.
But I think it's so important.
Yeah.
Like I think that having your heart broken is, you know, James.
Yeah.
You just met James. Like we're very similar. Like we find some kind of sick beauty in being absolutely broken.
Yeah. I mean, I kind of agree with that.
Yeah.
I think that's a little bit of what is like being queer helps teach you, is to really like be in touch with your emotions in a little bit, in a way, like even if you hide them a lot of times, I think you're very in touch on a deeply personal level. Yeah. And I think that we feel, I don't want to speak for all queer people.
Yeah,
it's same here.
I think we feel things harder and faster.
Yeah.
Because there was this little bit of like a period of time when we didn't get that or we didn't have those opportunities.
Its impact is just a little bit more meaningful because of how you didn't experience at a young age, which I know we're going to get into.
Yeah, for sure. And I think, I think that too, it's just like, I don't know. I think something that's very queer coded is like wanting to be broken up with when an Adele song or like the new Adele single comes out.
Speaking of having a
or
moment.
a new album. When I was in love with Garrett Houston. Shout out to Garrett.
Garrett, we love you, Garrett.
I would sit at the Maple Hill desk and listen to Someone Like You.
He walks in and never mind.
I'll find someone like you. I listened to Easy on Me for 4 hours when it came out because it came out right after Dane ghosted me.
Yeah.
From an entire flight from Nashville to New York City. Easy on Me on repeat.
Yeah.
Cried the whole fucking time.
Damn.
Like, I love a sad song. And sometimes I try to make myself sad when sad songs come out.
That is so true though, like having a dramatic moment or like imagining yourself as the main character, like in a supercut of you like getting over the breakup.
It's just a supercut of us.
One of my faves. What is not necessarily queer coded, but it's just the frivolity around Valentine's Day when you're young. And I am going to bring up the Valentine's Day parties that you used to have in elementary school.
Okay, queer coded. Did y'all do balloons? Did you do the balloons like where you could send people balloons?
Yes, or like some kind of sucker or something.
And this was my little faggot ass. I was like, if I don't have the most balloons, then clearly I was like trying to get the most balloons. I wanted to walk out of that place and float to the fucking sky because so many people sent me a Valentine balloon.
I think this gets perfectly into like what it was like growing up and viewing dating and like understanding what relationships look like and what Valentine's Day meant and everything. But truly, the Valentine's Day parties that we would have is everybody would have a box and you would buy your Valentine's Day cards and you would address them to everyone in the class, but waiting to get something special from someone or putting a little extra sticker or two on your crushes and sending a fucking signal.
I know you had the cuntiest Valentines.
Oh, bitch, I wanted Lisa Frank Valentines, but you know it was a little too gay. But
I know you probably like had Spider-Man or something.
Well, I will say I probably had Power Ranger Valentine's Day.
But the pink one?
Kimberly. Absolutely.
I remember in preschool. Hello? Bitch, I'm basically a Power... These boots, honey?
Oh my God, reboot.
These are gay Power Ranger outfits.
Yes.
I remember wanting to be a Power Ranger in preschool and I wanted to be the pink one and I had to be the fucking blue one.
Yeah, same. I was the red one for Halloween, but I wanted to be Kimberly.
Fucking icon.
What's so funny about thinking about that now? Those boxes and sending messages to everybody in my fucking class was preparing me for Hinge. Holy shit. That is baby's first Hinge. Baby's first Hinge message is someone sending me a fucking Valentine's Day card in elementary school.
100%.
I'm like, I have so many to respond to. What do I do?
All of these suckers.
I know all these suckers. Someone sent me a fucking rose. I don't even know what that means. But I'm just thinking now, like, that is truly like, speaking of like what it was like growing up, is being conditioned from such an early age that and it truly is. And I still believe this because I'm a lover. Like, connection and relationships really are the most important thing to me. But making a party of it and just like
the whole vibe of like love in the air.
And you should expect this. You should expect a message. You should start to expect that you might have admirers.
Well, also I look back on that. And the classrooms did the Valentine's exchange. So everyone brought the Valentines.
Right.
And like, I was like so concerned about getting so many balloons. And now I think about the kids that didn't get any balloons and that fucks me up.
I will never forget. This was a lesson that I learned very early on. My mom wouldn't send me gifts or snack packs to school because one time I was in second grade and this kid didn't get a snack pack and he was upset about it. Mom said, I'll never send you a snack pack again.
And that's why Sue Aaron's a title holder.
And
because she's always looking out.
100%. But you're right. Like, and talk about an early lesson and fucking rejection feelings.
Yeah. Oh, God.
Not that they were being rejected, but just like a feeling of being left out, singled out.
Yeah. Oh, my God. Well, where did it start for you? Like, what were your early sexual awakenings? What early attractions do you remember?
Well, there were a lot, but the one
because I was a lover.
Yeah, exactly. The one that I love, like I have talked about before, Enrique Iglesias.
Oh, yes.
He really just did something for me, and quite some decent foreshadowing.
It's a lot of people.
But I will say, I still hold that moment in my heart quite a bit. But now, cut to the videos of him humping the stage have really killed. I just have to hold on to that moment in my life because it's kind of killing that a little bit.
Yeah.
But also someone that looks similar was the character Marco from Degrassi, who was the gay character.
You were such a Degrassi girly.
I still follow him on Instagram. Adama Ruggiero, and I was so obsessed with him. I actually think that I used to write fan fiction about Degrassi on the N forums. I literally think I wrote a fan fiction about Marco and Dylan.
Find it. That's giving euphoria.
It really is. I'm giving kitty cat.
Oh, if you don't find that fan fiction and do a dramatic reading. No, I'll do a dramatic reading.
Oh my gosh.
That. Yeah. You surprise me every week. Every week I think I know you. And then you hit me with fucking fan fiction from Degrassi?
Yeah, so that is how it was like for me growing up, is that I was seeing it all around me because of the messages the world was sending me, but I was consuming the fucking media, and I loved a rom-com. I loved it. I was like, give me any
Made
love
in Manhattan.
Story. Exactly.
Yeah. For me, and this is so crazy that I remember this so vividly. And maybe I've talked about the neighbors before, but our neighbors growing up, there were a lot of them.
Yeah.
And the oldest one, Billy, would come over and play basketball in our little paved area. And I was probably in kindergarten or very young. And Billy came over shirtless. Billy is what I would describe as a twink.
Okay.
He was not he was just tall.
How old are we at the time?
I'm in kindergarten.
Okay.
Billy's in high school. And I remember him coming over and me being like, Billy, can I have a hug? And it was the first skin to skin contact I felt. Because I was probably running around in underwear. And I don't know, do kids in kindergarten run around in underwear?
Yeah.
What age do you stop running around in underwear in the South on a farm?
16?
3 acres.
16?
Yeah, honestly. So I remember just embracing Billy, the neighbor. I don't know where Billy is now, and it's probably a devastating story, but he means a lot to me.
Billy, if you're out there, please write
Billy, maybe he will write me fan fiction mail. So Billy's skin on my kindergarten.
That's your sexual awakening.
So fucked up.
But it's coming from your perspective.
Yes. Okay. But here's the thing. We like to talk about the fact that kids are not old enough to talk about gender or talk about whatever, blah, blah, blah. The gays are grooming.
Get into it.
But meanwhile, I'm fucking in kindergarten, know that I'm horny for Billy next door.
Yep.
Also,
no one's explaining it to you.
No one's explaining it. Also, we're putting kids, literal children that cannot choose this in future heartbreaker onesies or what the fuck is that? That gays are grooming, but you're I'm going to set you up, you little 3-year-old with your little neighbor friend.
Yeah.
Fucking stop.
Yeah.
Stop.
Yeah.
Stop. Stop. Yeah. I'm drawing a line.
You're recording?
Oh, you're recording this? You are vile. Honestly, vile. And listen, I'm going to give a pass to everyone who might be listening who maybe bought a heartbreaker onesie for their son.
Yeah.
And I'm going to give you the credit that maybe you've never taken this perspective until this moment. Right. But I want anyone listening that has young kids to take the story of me being 5 years old and feeling sexual attraction for Billy next door, to know that it is not too young to talk to your kids about relationships or feelings or emotions. And also, don't decide things like who they're going to love or who they should love or what gender they are or any of those things.
Stop telling people what to do when they're so impressionable and their minds are forming.
Yes. Oh, God. I'm worked up.
Well,
I'm sweating over here.
Let me tell you about heartbreakers.
Sweating. Yeah. God, the fucking heartbreakers.
So,
you were a heartbreaker for sure, though.
Absolutely. I was a heartbreaker. So this is funny. So if you'll recall the Wings of the Prairie Conservation Festival.
Doug Gumbo. Yeah.
There's a festival and a fair and everything. And there's like a little market. Mm-hmm. And I remember going through and honey, like I love to shop. So I was shopping at the market at the Wings of the Prairie Festival.
What were you getting?
Well, you know, they had the little crafts thing. And I'll never forget, I was so attracted to this bottle of sand. It was a bottle of color. Like it was
I was so attracted
just
to
get ready.
this
You're
bottle
not even buckle up.
Sand?
Buckle up in your jumpsuit.
I'm sweating in the jumpsuit. Yeah. I am buckled the fuck in and I am sweaty.
Okay. So it was a bottle of sand, different colored sand. You know, they would like layer in the sand and make it and make designs on it. It was basically a bottle of Cholula with colored sand in it. And mixed up, and it had a sticker on the outside and a feather glued on top of the bottle, but the sticker on the outside said Heartbreaker. And you know what? I was like, get the credit card out, because I made my parents buy it for me.
You're like, Sue Aaron, the Heartbreaker feather sand jar has made me feel something.
I'm like, I've seen the future of design and it's this.
Oh my God. I am going to go to bed tonight thinking about you being attracted to a bottle of sand.
Well, it was just like so pretty and it said Heartbreak. And I was like, ooh, I feel like I'm a little heartbreaker. I know I'm a lover from a young age.
Okay, well, here's the contradiction of like what that story brings up for me is that my dad found a Playboy magazine when we were really young. And he did ask me about it. Like my family, like it was like some things we talked about, some things we didn't.
It was a magazine that you had. Did you buy it?
No, they thought that I had it. And again, I'm very young at this point. And they asked me if it was my Playboy magazine. Swear on Beyonce. 2 hands to heaven.
Serious?
That was not my Playboy. But what happened is that my dad had sat me down on the bed to ask me if it was my Playboy. And I said, no, Papa, it's not my Playboy.
This is giving after school special.
And then, but you know what? I saw where my father put the Playboy in his closet. So it wasn't my Playboy, but it became my Playboy because I knew where it was.
Oh, yes.
And this is probably why I have like a reading kink. Well, I don't read famously.
Okay. Tell me more about this reading kink.
But sometimes when I'm really in the mood, I like to read porn instead of watch it.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah, intimate.
Yeah.
I can barely read, but I can read porn. I know those words.
Yeah.
And so I get this Playboy and I go into my mom and dad's bathroom was like a really long stretch and there was a little closet on either end and he put it in the top of his closet. So I go in, I get the Playboy, I lock the bathroom door, I get in dad's closet. I'm fucking reading.
Yeah.
I am reading. I'm literally.
You're like in the League of Their Own.
I was about to say
white breast.
His milky white breast. No, that was me.
What are you giving her, mate?
Hey, at least she's reading. That was me in the closet. Oh. Talk about that in the closet.
Honey, imagine.
In the closet, reading Playboy.
Yeah.
But there was a specific story about this woman who was cheating on her husband. Love. Because monogamy is a scam.
Yeah.
And cheating on her husband and they're in the hot tub.
Yeah.
Fuck, I still remember this story.
Yeah. Whoa. Cooling off in here.
Bitch, I'm going to have to come out of this jumpsuit by the end. I'm getting horned up. So they're in the hot tub and her husband walks in.
Okay.
And she's sucking this big juicy cock.
Oh my God.
And the husband gets all upset. And suddenly he's like going to get her and he gets in the hot tub and he slips and his mouth falls on the other guy's dick.
It was meant to be. Reading this article was meant to be.
Oh my God. And then all of a sudden the man is sucking his dick and the woman is watching and then it becomes a threesome.
Hello.
And I read that story. If I read it once, I read it 10,000 times. I was running into that goddamn closet any moment I got.
Yeah.
Literally, thank God that dad lectured me about the Playboy that wasn't mine.
The takeaway for me is that is why hot tubs will continue to be yes, queen.
And gay spaces.
Like, truly.
You cannot trust what happens in a hot tub. Okay.
No, absolutely not.
Now that I am properly horned up, let's move on from like early childhood into like high school, right? So we're out, or no, sorry. No, not in high school. You were in the 4-H club. A-team.
I was at A-team, but I was at Pine Bluff Dance Academy on the weekends, mama.
Okay, honey, talk about double life, baby. Okay, so in high school, did you have crushes? Did you date girls? Did you have romance? Like, what was that like?
So I don't think I definitely like had crushes on my like schoolmates, but like I remember thinking they were cute and definitely having crushes on them, but I don't know. Yeah, I was like thinking I was like desperately seeking their approval in some way.
Yeah.
But I do remember having what felt like crushed feelings for girls. And but now I realize that it was like, I just wanted to be their friend. Like I got along with them so well that I was like, I want their attention because we get along and I can like have a meaningful conversation with you.
And they can mask that you're gay.
Yeah, exactly.
I was like girlfriend up in middle school, and then junior high, I was like booed up, honey. Taylor Britton, the one that gave me the scrapbook and told me to come out in the entry passage.
Yes.
But in junior high, like 8th, 9th grade, I was trying it. And I dated one girl. It just wasn't going to be a thing. She came over to my house. It was so awkward. But then I had a similar vibe with you. I was this girl, Jacqueline, who I'm friends with now. She lives in Fayetteville now. But we grew up together. And she was like, I was like, oh, I love Jacqueline. Like, this is so good. The bitch dumped me on homecoming day. Like, straight up just left me on home. Talk about abandonment issues.
Yeah, right.
Jacqueline, I love you. But yeah. And then after that, I kind of just like, I gave up, I think. I was like, I know I'm gay. And I did have a romance not a romance in junior high, but like a little ditty with my friends' boyfriends. 2 of my best friends had boyfriends with the same name. And I would sometimes suck them off. I don't know why. I don't know. I was trying to be coy about it. Like, we sucked each other off. And we would literally,
Is this pre or post horse trailer?
Pre-horse trailer. Okay. This is what lubed me up to be ready for the horse trailer. Yeah, we just sucked each other off. Yeah. They were like older than me. And so they also taught me like what masturbation was. And then I was like, well, I see your masturbation, baby, and I'll raise you. But I read
what if we tried this?
I read that Playboy. No, it was that. I was like, what if we did this? We would time it. So if we equal time for each other. Like literally early alarm, 5 minutes. Like, I'll suck you for 5 minutes.
Judicious.
You suck me. Yeah, but that is a good segue into the horse trailer. And so to go from that to sentimental, I think I did not, like, I lost my virginity. I was 15.
Yeah.
And he was my best friend. And we had such a close friendship. And we had sex a lot. And we did things together. We were always together. We were best friends. It was like always acceptable to be together. And it wasn't until years later in therapy that I was like, oh my God, I loved him. And I didn't even, because it all had to happen in the dark and nobody could know. And we had to be so secretive. And there would be times when like we would be at horse shows together and I would want us to go back together, but he would go with a girl and it would crush me and whatever. And because it was all never happening in public, like I didn't even realize that like we were in a relationship for a significant amount of time.
That is so
and
crazy.
I didn't know it. And you know, and like, listen, like I wasn't ready for that either. At that time, I would have never wanted to be out and be open. But like, I think that's a very queer experience too, where it's like, you have these relationships with people that you deeply care for and you're deeply in love with them, but it's always so casual and it's always so, you know, behind the scenes that you don't even realize what it potentially is. Yeah. And so, you know, I would look back on my high school and, you know, think about all of my friends that had relationships and whatever. And I never really felt like I had that. But then one day I was like, no, I did have that. I just couldn't acknowledge it or talk about it or recognize it in the way that other people did. And, you know, I think that's also like, I don't know. I was going to say it's beautiful, but then as soon as I thought that, I remembered that like I came out and then he saw me on the sidewalk outside of Maple Hill when I was in college and refused to speak to me.
Right.
And that's not beautiful.
No.
So anyway, next.
Yeah. Next question.
Wow. Oh my God. I'm going to need help after this episode.
But you're actually reminding me like that I did have, there was another gay kid in high school and I did have a crush on him, realizing it now. Like
Cody?
No, it wasn't Cody, but Cody, we love you.
We love you, Cody.
No, it wasn't him. He was older than me.
Okay.
To your whole point of not realizing until much later, like, oh shit, I was in a secret relationship. Like looking back now, I'm like, oh shit, I did have a actual gay crush in high school.
Yeah.
And I would not let myself feel that way.
Right.
But like I was looking at him and wondering and like, I don't know. Yeah. Like now I'm like, damn, I really did.
Yeah.
Have a crush on that person.
Well, because also.
But I would not let myself admit it to myself.
Yeah.
Up until this moment.
Right here. Mage breakthrough.
Yeah, mage breakthroughs.
No, but that's the thing too, is that like I didn't see gay people.
Yeah.
And if I did,
yeah.
they were like ostracized, you know, or like overly sexualized or overly tokenized or all of these things. Like I didn't have anyone to look to or to think, you know, that this is what could be or whatever. And I think that like some of that, right, once you do come out and we get into our college years and we start dating, it's like all of the things that we did to remain in the closet are like the opposite of what it takes to be in a relationship. And that came out of a conversation that I was having recently. And I was like, oh my God, like that is so true, because I think about what it was like when everything had to be behind closed doors and when everything was in secret and it was so sexual driven. There was sometimes a connection, like we weren't kissing.
There's tension there. You think it's a connection, but it's disguised as just sexual tension.
Yes. And it's two people that are feeling a natural urge, by the way.
Yeah.
We were put on this earth to fuck each other. Mm-hmm. It is not natural to not fuck each other and want to fuck a lot and want to fuck in different ways.
Well, you're going to have to take that up with the A-team leaders because they do not feel the same way.
Yeah. And so we go from A-team to college where we're a little free. And what was that like? I was fucked up.
But a little having freedom for the first time while still also trying to figure out like, what do I do with the rule book that I was given up to this point? And now I'm being like faced with all the things that they told me I was going to face. I was going to be faced with peer pressure. I was going to be faced with all these things. And how do I do that? And it's not unlike what you're saying about like all of the muscles that you strengthen while you're staying in the closet about hiding and not doing and preventing yourself from doing. It's just like that with like sexual urges as well.
Yes.
But it is so crazy because to what you were saying, like not letting people in, not being vulnerable, hiding parts of yourself, not knowing how to communicate them well. Like those are things that you fucking beef up on in the closet. And then once you're let free to the world, you have no idea. Those other muscles are weak as hell. That's why I have a twisted sacrum. my muscles haven't been used.
The A-team twisted your sacrum because they planted that because they knew you were going to grow up to be a bottom, and they were like, we need to twist his sacrum fast because otherwise it's going to be blown out every chance you get. No, but really, I had no clue what I was doing. No. From hooking up one time, I thought I was in love because I didn't know. A lot
of people have that experience, not just queers.
I didn't know how to not just have sex, but also I didn't know how to be casual. I didn't know how to like someone and it not be detrimental to my mental health.
Yeah. Also like untying the connection of sex and love.
Yes. Yeah. When I think that in college, like, honestly, I was very young. I was very horny.
Yeah.
I remember giving up. Oh, speak of A-team, speak of horny, speak of young. When I thought I was a Christian one year, freshman year of college, actually, I gave up masturbation for Lent. And it's 40 days and 40 nights, right?
Yeah.
And so on the last night, the next day, I was free. Yeah. I was ready to go.
Oh, so you got the Playboy out?
I had a fucking wet dream. I didn't even get to enjoy it. Literally had a wet dream on the 39th night and didn't even...
You pushed the limits.
Honey, I can't go 3 hours now.
Those bitches in those chastity cages don't know pain.
Yeah, literally. It's actually not healthy. I was like, it hurt. Yeah. It was awful. But anyway, young, dumb, horny.
Yep.
In college, seeking, because I came out and we talked about this when we were talking about the frat life and when a lot of people went off and were doing the early fraternity life, I was seeking community. I was seeking a place to fit in. I was really trying to find my stride, understand who I was as a gay man. And I played volleyball and I had some older friends who they were 21. I was younger. And there was karaoke on Wednesday nights on Dixon. And they were like, oh, like you can come. It's like a restaurant, whatever. And I went and it was run by this gay guy. And I saw like really one of my very first gay adults. Yeah. Right. And he was in a relationship. They were open. There were other gay people around. And in that moment, I was like, oh, this is so exciting. Right. Yeah. And this is, you know, this is a community and this is what I want. And so I would go there a lot and, you know, it like trigger warning, but I ultimately ended up being incredibly groomed by them. And like, I was 18, they were in their 30s. They would, you know, he ran the karaoke so I could underage drink there and all of this stuff. And then the next thing you know, I'm like, having sex with them and I wanted to like I was, you know, again, I was horny. Yeah. I wanted to. It wasn't ever that it wasn't consensual, but it was also like, whoa, when I look back on that now, it wasn't, I was talking about...
There was a power dynamic.
Yes. And I was talking about it with Anna like years later and we were just like joking. We're like, haha, remember that time? And she was like, did you listen to what you just said out loud? Like, that's actually really fucked up. And I was like, yeah. And so then it's like, I was like thrust into this world. I didn't know what I was doing. Honey, nobody even taught me what douching was. Like, right. Hello, why are we not talking about that? Yep. Like, I didn't know what I was doing. None of us did. And then for that experience to happen, and I like thought that that's what it was like to be gay. And so I had all of these like weird emotions with it. And it, you know, was kind of toxic, but also thrilling. That's the fucked up thing about it is that this thing was happening, but it was like my only exposure. And I think that that was such a part of looking back. And what I love about social media and TikTok and podcasts, like toxic things aside, like Instagram didn't exist then. I didn't get to see what gay people looked like, how they lived, what their life was. Like there were no openly gay people that were just running around. I mean, there were, but like not enough that I was like seeing what my life could have been. Yeah. Then getting to college and trying to figure that out. And I think that like until I went to DC and met Shay, because of this experience, I kind of shut that part of my life out a little bit. Yeah. I was like, okay, well, I'm not going to date. Like dating isn't going to be for me. I'm just going to hook up, which is the hookup scene. Let's talk about
Casey.
Oh my God. Well, great song. Yeah. I also was thinking about the hookup I had on Craigslist when we lived together and he stole my Ray-Ban sunglasses. Like that was the vibe. I like went to college looking for love, get groomed, get on Craigslist, get my Ray-Ban stolen.
There's still a warrant out somewhere.
It's actually amazing that I'm this sweaty.
Healed.
That's what I was going to say. I was going to say that I'm this perfect and, you know, but like, fuck, that was like the college vibe. And then it was like the closeted frat boys and all other things. And so it's like, wow, how do I live with that?
But honestly, I mean, I am so glad that you have had experience and growth to like know and clock something like that. Yeah. I'm also so terribly sorry that like that is how you had to experience that and not through another way of learning and being able to look back on something, because that is just like so
Well, and
fucked up.
Yeah. And the other thing that I realized that kind of got me to the point is I have many friends now that have since come out and will talk about that specific person and they tell the same story.
Yeah.
And it's like, damn, like that is so crazy. And it really, like, what I keep being drawn to is like how much has to happen in the shadows and how much we normalize sex as the first form of intimacy as gay people that usually happens somewhere shady. I remember once in Fayetteville, I hooked up in an abandoned post office. Like,
oh my God.
It was kind of hot.
I mean, yeah.
But again, probably with someone way older than I should have been hooking, you know? So we find ourselves in these positions where we're seeking as lovers someone to reach across and touch our fucking hand. And what we're getting is like sex in a back alley, which now I love and will do, but it's like, I don't know, those early experiences in college, like I think I kind of had to like take a beat from like trying to date.
Yeah. In college, because I was like, had consumed so much like love media and was just like, and seeing all the things around me, I was like, I know I have to be in a relationship, or like, that is what you do. Like, and so I just was, as soon as I graduated high school, like I remember hitting college and I'm like, all right, I'm boy crazy.
Yeah, you were on whatever the version of Hinge was in Maple Hill South.
And so I remember also, to your point, realizing that because everybody's closeted a little bit, like some people are out, some people are showing their faces, some are discreet, some are not.
Well, mostly headless torso.
Exactly. To your point, like I think that's also when I had to realize, like, okay, like that was my first brush with being met with like, oh, not everybody is out here trying to like have a boyfriend. And that was like hard for me, and it took me up until like
this week,
like to when I got back on Hinge. So I'm totally fine.
Yeah, totally fine now.
And Sara Evans boy call me. But
I'm finding that motherfucker.
Yeah, exactly. But that's kind of like, it took me a minute to like really shake that off and understand like not everything has to be like super serious.
Yeah. Well, and also there wasn't,
which is healthy too.
I feel like in college, like the gay community in Fayetteville at the time was so small that like there wasn't like, you couldn't fuck around. It wasn't like you could casually have sex with people because there weren't enough to like do that with. And so you get attached to the ones that like are close enough. And that sounds so sad to say, but it's like the reality, right? It's like, you know, you want that thing. And yeah, and I felt that for sure. And I think a lot of that lingered into like post-college life.
Yep.
And again, there's all of these phases that you go through as a queer kid in the South. You have your sexual awakenings, you have your middle school girlfriends, you have your little hookups in high school that feel so thrilling. And then you go to college and maybe go on a date and maybe do whatever. And then it's like, you're looking for the next iteration of coming out.
Yeah.
Like I came out post high school into college, but that was like a little bit, right? And then it's like, I'm going to leave Arkansas and I'm moving to Chicago. I'm really going to come out.
Yeah.
Well, nobody tells you that that's just as fucked up as what happened in college. Like, I was fucked up.
You don't have training wheels.
No. And nobody is getting us in therapy back then.
Actually, these are the training wheels. Now that we're talking about it, these are the fucking training wheels.
No, those were the training wheels. And like, yes, but I remember being so excited to move to Chicago, to date, to fall in love, to have a boyfriend, like all of these things. And then I was just so rejected. Like I had no idea how to exist in a gay community. I had no idea how to make friends as an adult. I still probably didn't know how to douche. And I go to Chicago and I'm like thinking that I'm like, oh, I'm in this mecca, whatever. And then it's just like the toxic grinder culture. I was a big girl then, right? And like the amount of rejection that was just blatant, like, you know, and when you're so young, like that's like what I wish I could say is like, those things don't matter. Like I know that now, but I was so young and I was still so hungry for that connection.
Yeah.
And I did. I mean, one Matthew, who you recently got the pleasure of meeting.
Exactly.
Title holder of the pod.
Oh, lovely
Love
person.
Matthew. But, we met. He was in an open relationship. They were open, which to me was like new to see. I think it was like after Matthew's birthday and like they were on Grindr and I came over and we talk about falling in love, honey. But we had such a good connection and we would continue to hang out and whatever. And like he was the first person that ever made me feel like safe with like my body, with who I was. Like that was like, okay, even though he's someone else's, which I think there's something to be said for a trend that I had of falling in love with people that are in relationships because I had nothing to lose. Yeah. Let's talk about that for a minute because I could be myself because they were never going to be mine.
Oh, interesting.
That is a thing
the threat was low.
The threat was low. So I could be more fearless in being who I was and not putting on my little gay face and doing my little gay tap dance to make sure I'm saying the right things. But anyway, he was in a relationship. It was open. We were flirty. We, had a deep connection. We really cared about each other. And I was like, okay, even though like now I know that this exists, right? Now I know that that's possible. I felt that. And that was kind of the moment post college where I kind of like felt like I could take a little bit of a breath and be like, okay, all of this other shit is not that bad. Like there are people out here like Matthew and that was like a very big turning point for me. Yeah. Then therapy.
Yeah. then you needed both.
Yeah. I needed Matthew and therapy, but yeah.
When I graduated college and moved to Dallas, that noise before a movie starts, it's like the Dolby noise, that's what it was like for me. Yeah, basically that. I was like, all right, I'm on the town and I am trying to date and I'm going on date after date after date because I'm like boy crazy. Yeah. And continuing to like have the visual of the perfect, husband and kids and tiny little boxes in a row.
Ain't what you want, it's what you know, bitch.
Exactly. So it took me forever to shake that off. And I remember just like constantly because like going on dates and getting ghosting people, like that was like for a while like you had to like learn like ghosting is actually not okay and like you should be able to like
you have to communicate your feelings.
But the guy I was telling you about earlier, the dance floor guy that I fell in love with, ended up crying on the street with I will say that was also like a good turning point for me, even though it did not turn into a relationship. We eventually got to a place where it ended very respectfully and someone did communicate their feelings to me and did not reciprocate the feelings that they were feeling for me. So it did feel like rejection because I felt so strongly, but was so respectful and I was like, all right, I can't argue. Yeah. And
but back to like not having the tools, like the tools that you need to be in the closet are the opposite of what you need to be in a relationship. Like I also feel like a part of all of this and a part of like through any phase of dating and through all of these is that like also talk about being conditioned for gender norms and whatever. I was conditioned that like relationships and marriages are a fucking prison. Like the straights are not okay. Yeah. Like they're not, sorry to my straight fans, our straight fans.
All right.
But I do feel that some of them are deeply unwell. And it's like, because there's this idea that like, oh, gotta check with my other half. Like, oh, I can't, asking for permission for things that are so mundane and like just feeling like, I just get the ick thinking about how people lose their own identity in relationships. And I do feel like that is a very common thing in heteronormative relationships where it's just like all of a sudden you have to fall in line with what you're told, which is like, oh, she withholds sex and won't fuck me. And like, he doesn't do this for me. It's like, it's so...
Well, it's only because you only see the relationship can be one way, or it can only look one specific type of way. It can't be dynamic and change over time. Yes. But I think that's what's really beautiful about being queer and like learning yourself and learning other people. And because we have these experiences, realizing that we do have a little bit more ability to reject or see beyond one type of perspective and allow ourselves to see things differently.
Color outside the line.
Color outside the line and stop thinking it was going to look like what you thought it was going to look like.
Yeah, because I think that the reality is, I mean, listen, I personally think that like monogamy is a scam. Like I think that it is a way to put people in line and to control people and to think that as humans who are put here to fuck, again, put here to fuck.
Yeah.
I just like to say that. I do think that it is not natural to only sleep with one person for the rest of your life. And I have no opinion of people that like want to do that work and want that to be their reality. And again, like everything is nuanced. Relationships are nuanced. People are nuanced. I personally feel that, you know, I see so many people in my family and in my life where I'm like, y'all hate each other.
Yeah.
Like you're not talking. You don't like, you're just mean to each other. And it's like, I don't know. I think there's something about that falling in line and this conditioning that we felt as young queer kids and probably would have followed through on had we not been queer and had we not been gay. And we were already doing something wrong by being gay. So we might as well be open, or we might as well, you know.
Well, it teaches you to not give a fuck what people think anymore, because you've already had to start thinking about like, well, okay, now I'm going to be out in the open. So now I kind of don't. It gives you it lowers the bar every time for you to say something that might fall outside of the one way of thinking.
Well, and I think like dating is hard enough. Yeah. Like gay dating, like the grinder culture, especially in New York, the paradox of choice is so real that it's like there's always something better. But we had this conversation, and I think that like as we have, you know, been in therapy, gotten older, you know, see what detriment it has done to us to ghost people or to feel rejected. It's like, it's really just communicate. It's like, say, you know, like that meant something to you, that he took the time to tell you how he felt and didn't just
100%,
right?
100%. And I think like that, like respect is probably like the biggest takeaway from all that. It's just like having a mutual respect for somebody. How have you dating now? How have you dating now is realizing I have turned the corner in terms of like being so boy crazy and expecting that like every gay person that I meet could be a potential husband.
Yeah.
I've now kind of replaced or traded seeking only a long-term relationship in terms of like, I've replaced trying to find long-term relationship with something else. Like I am open to finding friendship, a short-term relationship. Yeah. My friend Catherine really opened my eyes to this once, where she was talking about relationships and dating. She was like, you know, what if some people are more prone to like nurturing friendships through their life and making those the like relationships that are the most important. Yes, yes, a commune. Get ready, queer coded commune coming soon.
Well, no, I think that, and I think that going back to what we talked about in the beginning, where I feel like relationships were tied to morality.
Yeah.
And we as a society view divorce or relationships ending as failure.
Yeah.
And it's not. If you have a good 6 months, 1 year, 10 years, 20 years with someone, it does not have to mean that when it's over, there's any level of failure. Because I feel that, like, I don't believe in one soulmate. Yeah. I believe that we are connected to many people, and there's immense joy that can be found in many connections. And we are humans that are going to like grow and evolve and change. And sometimes, like, I think that being in a relationship is like making a choice to give the other person the space to grow and evolve, and still choosing to love every version of that person as they grow and evolve, and not expecting them to be the person that you met 10 years ago. Or, you know, like, that's like, think about our parents. They've been married for fucking, I can't even do that
30
math.
plus years here.
I'm not good at math. I can't even count that high. And, you know, like, you have to continue to choose that person and give them the space to grow and evolve. And sometimes people grow and evolve in different directions and it doesn't serve them anymore. And that's okay. Like, let's stop viewing like divorce or relationships ending or people consciously uncoupling as a failure. Like there was like, that's a beautiful time of life. And yeah, there's always going to be sadness and maybe there's hurt and maybe there are things, but it doesn't have to be like awful.
No. Okay. So you were talking a little bit about how it is like starting from gay dating from like the first Grindr buzz to like the evolution. What is the process right now for you? Okay.
Well, so I talked about this a little earlier, but I went through this period of time where I was like, oh my God, if I need to be in a relationship or if I have this desire, then I'm a failure. And then I went through this period of time where I was like, I'm open to it, but like, I don't want to seek it out. Like, I really can't do the small talk. I couldn't do the small talk. I would try. I said to my therapist once, I was like, I really just want to like either fall in love on the dance floor and continue to be in love, or just like fuck someone so many times that one day after we're done fucking, I'm like, oh, you're nice. Like, we're having a good time. This is kind of fun. And like, I didn't really want to try. I didn't, there's a lot of vulnerability. Like, I have access to my emotions, but I don't have a lot of access to rejection. Yeah. And I don't have a lot of time. Like when I don't have a lot of time. I'm very busy. But the past few years I've been traveling a lot for work and whatever. And, but I think I was in a headspace where I was like, I have a community. I have friends. I have love. I have sex. Yeah. And I was happy. Yeah. And I had done a lot of work and, I just kind of had settled into like, if this is my life, I'm perfectly fine with that. And then, and then sometimes one of those friends that you is part of your community, maybe you realize that you're like Cher in Clueless when she's walking in front of the fountain and is like, it's Josh. I'm in love with Josh. But it was Brian. Yeah. And so that has been interesting. And so hard launch. I have a partner, boyfriend, emotional support domestic partner, emotional support animal if you ask Greg. His name is Brian. He's incredible. And it did just kind of happen. And I do think that like, I had said like, I just want to fuck someone until we don't, or want to meet someone on the dance floor or whatever. I didn't really want to like seek it out. And so I think it's like the universe, how it worked out, because we've been friends for 3 years. We met at the gym, and his first impression of me, and this is one of my favorite, as I was like processing all of this, his first impression was that like I sucked all the oxygen out of the room. And I'll never forget when me, you, and John were sitting here like after Brian and I had a conversation and we're like unpacking and whatever. And you were like, well, apparently Brian doesn't like to breathe. And I like literally died. But it's been really fun. And I think that the thing is like it kind of just happened, like our lives integrated in a very frictionless way. And we were in Fire Island and we met this guy and was like, oh, are y'all together? And we were like, no, we're not. But like, we're really good friends. And he was like, oh, you're nislips. And did you tell me this,
but tell me again.
Non-sexual life partners.
Oh, okay.
Nislips. And so we were like so proud. We were like, fuck yeah, we're nislips. And then John is like, non-sexual life partners, like read us down. And so then we created SDeeps, emotional support domestic partners. For a good month, 2 months, I don't know, we were just, everyone would think we were together. And we're like, oh no, we're SDeeps, we're SDeeps, we're SDeeps. And then around Thanksgiving, we spent Thanksgiving here, my family, whatever. He left to go out to Fire Island. I was like, fuck, I think I miss him. I'm like, is this just me being conditioned to want to have a family around the holidays? Like that did go through my head. I did ask my therapist that.
Oh, that's a good, I mean, honestly, that's hey, just checking into what I've learned 30 years ago.
No, I mean, I really was. I was like, is my emotional like mourning, he died. Brian's dead. No, is my like draw to the fact that we were all here together with my family and he left and I missed him because I just wanted this like, you know, traditional whatever. So I talked about it in therapy. And then loosely, him and I danced around to talk about his therapist and my therapist and whatever. And then I told John one night, and I was like, I think I'm in love with Brian.
Yeah.
Gooped, gagged, shocked.
Yeah, absolutely.
His face like stood up. I was like, well, okay.
Yeah.
And then he took care of the rest. If you ask him the story. But yeah, it's been fun. And like the thing that I feel the most is safe.
Yeah.
And like celebrated. And like all of the things that we talked about, I spent most of my life dating, and I think I avoided dating because I didn't know how to be with someone and not feel like they were going to leave. Mm-hmm. I literally joke about Peyton from One Tree Hill. People always leave. Okay. Like literally that was like me. And so I was always like, I am anxious attached. Yeah. Like I have anxious attachment style. If you don't know your attachment style and you're not in therapy, 2 things as homework for the episode. But I always just felt like I loved the crush and I loved being in love and I loved these connections, but I needed to be constantly validated by it, or I went into this terrible mental space, and I've never once felt that with him. Like, I just feel like this makes sense, and I don't feel any kind of fear or insecurity. I just feel like, yo, he's there, and like, that's what it is. Like, we're very open. I don't believe in monogamy. He doesn't believe in monogamy. We have the freedom to be our own independent selves, but also like really find joy in each other. And like,
honestly, that is on not taking it too damn seriously, or realizing what happens when you stop taking it too damn seriously. Like, that is part of the queer journey, is like trying to like trial and fucking error and realizing like, okay, I gotta like drop the expectations of what I was taught and do it my way. And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But when you grow from love, to quote First Boys Club,
that's what happens when people stop being polite and start getting real.
Well, one, I am so happy for you, and thanks for hard launching. You know how much it means to me, and I love Brian, and I love you too. And to my point about not taking it seriously, it's such a good lesson and reinforcement to me in my own like dating journey, because again, could not underscore how boy crazy I was, or how much I expected that I needed to have a boyfriend, and then really stopped dating altogether. And then totally was like, okay, let me like see what it might be if it like is a way to make friends. Right. And it became that way. And then I started dating, and I was like, oh, had some really good connections, and I had some really amazing short-term relationships that did not go anywhere, but actually really taught me how to be in a relationship and how to communicate while you're over there in your love bubble, which I am so excited for.
Teresa Giudice,
I
love bubble.
Am on the hunt for a vacation boyfriend, because there is no better. Talk about like a like pillar of gay dating. I think is like going somewhere that's a gay destination and finding your like boyfriend for the weekend,
even for a day. Sometimes you get more than one vacation boyfriend.
Oh, and isn't that the best?
And that's on open relationships, because I can still have a vacation boyfriend.
Exactly, true.
I'm currently lobbying for a local Northwest Arkansas boyfriend to be there when I'm in town for work.
Yes,
I need regular access to this.
But I think what is so great about a vacation boyfriend is it is that crush feeling, that also when you set the expectation to yourself, like, this is happening until I fly out.
Yes.
And that's fine. And that is so much fun. And I looked back on all of my vacation boyfriends very fondly.
I love them.
Like, I remember the first time I went to Fire Island, I got a vacation boyfriend like that.
Oh my God.
But it totally made the experience so much fun.
Yes.
And I saw it for the first time through those eyes.
Yes.
And it's just so funny.
I love vacation boyfriends.
I know, it is that feeling of that you just got me started.
Like
that is like how I feel.
Make you love me.
God, it does get to that sometimes.
Well, hey. I'm sweating.
You're sweating.
I got a cramp.
You look amazing. You look amazing in your cramp.
Thank you. I am going to absolutely drip out of this. You're going to have to pull me out of it.
Well, that's all right. Okay. Is it time for parting shots?
Oh my God, yes. So I think my parting shots, I've already said, and I'm just going to reinforce them.
Yep.
Fuck heteronormative culture.
Yep.
Build the relationship that you want to have.
Yep.
Figure out how to communicate what you feel. And even if you can't communicate it directly in those moments, I am very expressive. I have access to my feelings. Not everyone does.
Yeah.
Figure out a safe word that you can say in those moments that's like, hey, I recognize this, but I can't communicate about it, and move on. Fucking figure out your attachment style and what you need.
Yep.
Tell people what you need and find a good therapist, and always have a vacation boyfriend. Yep. And hall passes can be a thing every day.
Yep. So my parting shot is that all of the fuck ups and everything that you had to go through truly like helps shape how you can have a healthy perspective on dating or love or friendships or relationships in general. I think like I've had a lot of really positive short-term relationships. Like I said, shout out Dan Savage for like giving me that term and like thinking of them in a new positive way. But I've also had relationships that did end ugly and negatively and have had bad breakups. But I, of course, like sometimes if I get real heated, I go back to that moment. I'm like, hell yeah, I was in the right. But I still do. I think the overwhelming emotion of it is it's a lesson learned, and it has only shaped my perspective and given me stronger muscles to be in a relationship.
Yes.
Rather than using the muscles that I was using when I was in the closet.
And I know I've already gone, but what?
No, well, my parting shot is.
No, but okay. So to tie this up in a bow with Casey.
Yes.
You're talking about all of the things that you went through and all of this, you know, emotion and turmoil that feels whatever. And I think that people dating and whatever, you feel this need to be a certain way. And I actually sent this song to Brian when we like first kind of had the conversation of like, I have feelings for you. Nothing to be scared of. Come to me and drop your bags and I'll help you unpack them.
Yeah.
Demons in your mirror, together we'll face them. It doesn't have to be. It's like, this is a journey together.
Yeah.
Bring the baggage, bring the demons. Like, you're not alone in that anymore.
Yeah.
We're going to do this together. I like that song.
Okay. So now I have another final thought.
So now my parting shot.
But I actually do. I'm just going to sum it up with this.
Okay. Well, I already summed it up.
Well, no. Get
Let
ready
me have my moment. I'm in my love bubble. Let me have my moment.
I'm saying that this applies to me also.
Okay,
and that this will sum it up nicely, is that there's a line in that goes,
oh,
that
good. It's the same song. So it's still
the same song.
My party shot.
Exactly.
Okay,
I'm
you're piggybacking. You're barebacking my.
That's right. So it says, if the train is meant for me, it won't leave the station. And that is the summary of what my perspective is and my parting shot. It's like, if it's meant for you, and I'm sounding so manifesty and woo-woo right now.
We're manifesting in 2025, bitch. It's our year.
We are.
Honey,
but it's true. Like, realizing if you didn't make that train, there's going to be another one coming.
God damn.
Yeah.
Well, it's time for Yeehaw to Yes Queen.
Let's
and
play.
What I need to say is that we didn't even address our Reba cutout. Our
Reba's 94
Reba
Fritos
cutout.
Scoops Reba.
If you're viewing this in any way, you may see her, and we love her. It is now time for From Yeehaw to Yes Queen, where producer Sammy will flash things to us that we do not know that we've discussed during the episode, and we will rate it on a scale of Yeehaw to Yes Queen.
Yes Queen.
First one.
Vince Gill.
Bitch.
I'm
right at a crossroad.
I am thinking Yeehaw on Vince Gill.
That voice.
Yeah.
Yeah, but Yes Queen.
Because the heart won't lie.
The way that he serenades. You know, he was in 8 Seconds. The movie. We got to watch it.
Oh my gosh, I know. We need to have a viewing.
He performs at the wedding. God.
So he's Yeehaw for me just because he's a true country star.
I think he's a little more Yeehaw, but like, I get horny listening to him, and that's Yes Queen. Hopefully, I'm not on the pulse of Vince Gill, so hopefully he hasn't been canceled for
I don't know
anything bad.
Oh, he plays with the Eagles.
The football team?
No, the Eagles, the band. Yeah.
Sports.
You know sports.
Next one.
Prison Pen Pals. I mean, okay, have you ever... There's a movie
I am going to put this entire microphone in my mouth thinking about a prison pen pal. That...
Well, we were just talking about the contraband porn.
Whew, oh my God. Oh my God. They are... they're Yes Queen.
I think it's Yes Queen.
Fan fiction.
Yeah.
You know women are writing fan fiction about these men.
A prison pen pal.
I'm like burping. I'm like getting ready. I'm like clearing my throat because I love these men.
I think prison pen pal is definitely Yes Queen because you are building a fantasy. You are telling a story. You are using your words just like they did in Playboy.
Oh, fuck yeah. I think my resolution for 2025, even though I haven't made one up until this point, is to get a prison pen pal. And we'll read it on the podcast. Our biggest fan. Playboy.
Speaking of.
Okay. Well, Playboy.
Oh, gosh.
I watched the documentary, The Secrets of Playboy. The most upsetting thing that I've ever seen in my life. So what I will say is that I give some Yes Queen respect to the women of Playboy 100%. Like Pamela Anderson.
Yes.
And the women empowerment and the business.
Ollie, Bridget, and Kendra.
The business model at large intended to be good.
Yeah.
With giving women, like the whole thing is that they were getting jobs that were paying more than what women could get at the time. One peel behind the layer, and it's the most fucked up thing you've ever experienced, and it makes me deeply upset.
Yeah.
But the specific Playboy that I read where the husband slipped into the hot tub and sucked that man's cock, that's Yes Queen.
Yes Queen, officially.
Valentine's Day.
Talk about summing it up.
I think it's Yes Queen.
I think it's Yes Queen too.
I think it's Yes Queen. It's very frou, shoo.
It is like, I think it is beautiful if you can share your emotions, and
terrible if you can't.
And if you're able to fucking go all out on Valentine's Day, hell yeah, that's Yes Queen.
Brian, if you're listening.
You haven't texted me back.
Yeah. Oh my God. You didn't even compliment my outfit. Yeah. What are we doing for Valentine's Day? Honestly, we should have a sister night because that feels more like our vibe.
That seems like the situation.
Maybe we all go get caviar at the Mark.
Okay.
Caviar Caspia.
Yes, that sounds like the perfect little situation for my self-care.
A little bump of caviar. Okay. Well,
all right. Y'all.
What? We fuck it up every time. No, we practiced. Ready?
Yeah. Okay. I feel like we just look like Da Vinci.
Okay, down, up, cheers, clink. Y'all come back now, you queer. Drink. We didn't even drink.
Queer Coded Country is created and hosted by Hunter Poole and Tucker Travis, produced and edited by Sammy Junio.